So probably the fourth thing that I would like to mention is really related to the ebbs and flows of work, is the ability to shift your position in the company and the hat that you're wearing at that moment quickly and precisely. This is a challenge for me sometimes, to be quite frank, and I'm still working on it. But it's a challenge to me because I see it as a potential area of weakness, I guess, in my business strategy, that I'm working every day to make better, and that is your marketing and your sales. Okay, so I don't disagree, or I don't think that using marketing tools is a bad thing. I think you should choose them wisely for where you're at. So like for me, the internet helps me get some work here for sure. Social media, not so much. I can explain why, but we'll go into that in another episode. But so most of my clients, though, they don't come to me because they found me on the internet, even though a number do. Probably only a third of my clients come to me from the internet directly. But what does happen sometimes, and why the internet's beneficial for me, is that they hear about me somewhere, and then they look me up online, and then they say, oh, this guy's legit, and then they call me. So that helps, right? But my main marketing sources, number one, without a doubt, is word of mouth, right? That is the number one way I get sales. Number two, and this is going to be weird, is me knocking on doors. Flat out. I knock on doors and talk to people about tree conditions that I see, and I get work. And then the third around here is probably like my business card on info boards at like the tractor supply companies and gas stations. Honestly, it's the craziest thing. So I'm from Atlanta, metro Atlanta area, and this is like old school ways of marketing that nobody does anymore, right? As a general rule. But it doesn't mean they're not effective. It's the weirdest thing. And number four would be meeting people at out in public at the store or whatever, and striking up a conversation. Sometimes they see my climbing pants and they're like, are those dirt bike pants? And I'm like, no, they're climbing pants for a tree service. And they're like, oh, really? And then you get in a conversation and they kind of go with you from there. And we'll get into a little bit about how I view marketing here in another episode as well. So keep that in mind. But so you have to be able to switch that hat. You get done with a job and maybe you're mentally just exhausted. You've done this work, you're working on a tree that has crazy rigging in it, or there's a lot of like really tight drop zones and stuff, and you get your adrenaline going, and at the end of the day you're kind of like mentally tired, and you're just like ready to sit down, and like sometimes you have to go find work for the next day, at least for me, or you have to go meet a client to do an